The bridal shop's bell chimed as I pushed open the door, the sound as bitter as the taste in my mouth. Through the forest of white, tall, and silk dresses, I spotted my sister Victoria twirling in front of a three-way mirror, our mother dabbing tears from her eyes. "Oh, Victoria," Mom gushed, "you look absolutely perfect. The wedding dress probably cost more than most people's monthly salary." Of course it did. She paid for it with my money. "Rebecca." Victoria's face lit up with fake enthusiasm when she saw me in the mirror. "I was wondering when you show up. What do you think? Worth every penny, right? My name is Rebecca Anderson, and 2 weeks ago, I discovered my sister had drained my savings account of $78,000 to fund her dream wedding. The money I'd spent years saving for my own future, gone in a series of unauthorized transfers while I was on a business trip. How could you, Victoria?" I kept my voice low, conscious of the other customers browsing nearby. "That was my entire savings." She turned to face me, all innocence and confusion. "Oh, come on, Rebecca, don't be so dramatic. I'll pay you back eventually." She smoothed down the intricate beadwork on her bodice. "Besides, you know how important this wedding is to me, to all of us. Important enough to steal from your own sister." "Steal is such an ugly word," Victoria sighed, examining her reflection again. "I prefer to think of it as borrowing. You'd have said no if I'd asked. And Matthew and I need this wedding to be perfect. You know how his family is." "Ah yes, Matthew Harrison, Victoria's fiancé and heir to the Harrison fortune. Old money, old names, old expectations. The kind of family that would look down their noses at our decidedly middle-class background if the wedding wasn't appropriately lavish." "Mom," I turned to our mother, who was suddenly very interested in a rack of veils. "Are you seriously okay with this?" "Well," she hesitated, not meeting my eyes. "Victoria did say she'll pay you back, and this wedding is such a wonderful opportunity for her, for all of us, really. The Harrison family has so many connections." I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but then again, maybe I could. Victoria had always been the favorite, the pretty one, the social butterfly who could charm her way out of any situation. I was the responsible one, the steady one, the one who worked hard and saved carefully while Victoria flitted from one expensive whim to another. "You're going to the police, aren't you?" Victoria's voice had lost its sweetness, turning sharp. "That's why you're here, to threaten me?" I met her gaze in the mirror. "How did you even get access to my account?" She shrugged, the beads on her dress catching the light. "You really should change your passwords more often, Rebecca. Using Mom's birthday for everything isn't exactly secure." The casual way she admitted to it made my blood boil. But before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text. Looking down at the screen, I felt my anger give way to something else. Determination. "No, Victoria," I said, slipping my phone back into my pocket. "I'm not going to the police. Not yet, anyway." She raised an eyebrow, suspicious of my sudden calm. "Then why are you here?" "To let you know that I know, and to give you a chance to make this right." Victoria laughed, with sound like tinkling glass. "Or what? You'll tell Matthew?" "Please, he wouldn't believe you over me. Nobody ever does." She was right about that. Victoria had always been the better liar, the better manipulator. But what she didn't know was that I had something she didn't. Proof. Not just of her theft, but of something far more damaging. The text I'd just received was from Daniel, a private investigator I'd hired after discovering the theft. "Got what you needed. Meeting at 2 p.m. to review findings." "You have until the wedding to return my money," I said, turning to leave. "Every cent of it." "Or what?" Victoria called after me, her voice mocking. "What are you going to do, Rebecca?" I paused at the door, looking back at her, resplendent in her stolen dress. "You'll find out." Outside, the autumn air was crisp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves. I checked my watch, just enough time to make it to Daniel's office. As I drove across town, I thought about how things had come to this. Victoria and I had never been close, despite our mother's best efforts. 3 years apart in age, we were opposites in every way that mattered. While I worked part-time jobs through college and built my career in marketing, Victoria bounced between expensive schools and failed business ventures, always supported by our parents' indulgence. Meeting Matthew Harrison had been her golden ticket. He was everything she always wanted, rich, connected, and completely taken in by her carefully crafted persona. Their whirlwind romance had culminated in a proposal after just 6 months, and suddenly Victoria was planning the society wedding of the century. Daniel's office was in a modest building downtown, the kind of place that didn't draw attention, perfect for someone in his line of work. He was waiting for me when I arrived, a thick folder on his desk. "Miss Anderson," he greeted me, gesturing to a chair. "I think you'll find this interesting." He opened the folder, spreading out photographs and documents. "Your sister's fiancé isn't quite what he seems." I leaned forward, examining the evidence. Matthew Harrison, it turned out, had secrets of his own, secrets that would destroy not just the wedding but Victoria's entire carefully constructed future. "Are you sure about this?" I asked, picking up a particularly damning photograph. Daniel nodded grimly, every bit of it verified. "The question is, what do you want to do with it?" I sat back, thinking about Victoria in her stolen wedding dress, so confident in her immunity from consequences. First, I want copies of everything. And then for the next hour, Daniel and I mapped out a plan. It wasn't just about getting my money back anymore. It was about teaching Victoria a lesson she'd never forget. That evening, my phone lit up with texts from our mother, begging me to be reasonable and think about the family. I ignored them all. Instead, I focused on organizing the information Daniel had provided, building a case that would shatter Victoria's perfect wedding plans. The next morning, I woke up to an email from Victoria. "Dear Rebecca, I know you're upset, but you're being childish about this. The money is spent, deposits paid, contracts signed. There's no going back now. Besides, once I'm married to Matthew, I'll have more than enough to pay you back. Just be patient and don't ruin this for everyone. Love, Victoria." Her arrogance was breathtaking. She really believed she could steal my life savings and face no consequences. That's what a lifetime of indulgence had taught her, that rules didn't apply to her, that she could take whatever she wanted. I opened my laptop and began composing a response. "Dear Victoria, you're right, the money is spent. But before you get too comfortable with that thought, you might want to ask Matthew about his monthly trips to Vegas and about Suffy. Love, Rebecca." I didn't send it, not yet. But soon, very soon, Victoria would learn that her perfect life wasn't as secure as she thought. Over the next few days, I watched as wedding preparations continued at a frenzied pace. Victoria had spared no expense, my expense, in creating her dream event. The venue was a historic mansion outside the city. The guest list included local celebrities and politicians, and every detail was meticulously planned to impress Matthew's family. I received an invitation in the mail, cream-colored paper with gold embossing. The irony wasn't lost on me, being invited to a wedding paid for with my stolen money. "Are you going to RSVP?" Mom asked when she called to check on me. "Victoria really wants you there." "Oh, I'll be there," I assured her. I wouldn't miss it for the world. The week before the wedding, I met with Daniel again. He had more information, bank records, text messages, surveillance photos. Matthew Harrison wasn't just cheating on Victoria. He was involved in something much darker. "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" Daniel asked as I reviewed the new evidence. "Once you start, there's no going back." I thought about Victoria's smug face in the bridal shop, about years of watching her take and take while I worked and saved, about her complete lack of remorse over stealing my future. "Unsure," I said firmly. "She needs to learn that actions have consequences." The morning of Victoria's wedding dawned bright and clear, perfect weather for a perfect day. I dressed carefully in the pale blue bridesmaid's dress she'd chosen, doing my hair and makeup with precise attention to detail. Everything needed to appear normal until the right moment. The historic Harrison estate was transformed into a fairy tale setting. White roses everywhere, crystal chandeliers hanging from the garden tent, champagne flowing freely. The cost of the flowers alone probably equaled 3 months of my salary. "Rebecca," Victoria's voice rang out as I entered the bridal suite. She was already in her dress, surrounded by bridesmaids and makeup artists. "I was worried you wouldn't show. And miss my sister's big day?" I smiled, meeting her eyes in the mirror. "Never." For a moment, something like uncertainty flickered across her face. My email about Sophie must have rattled her, though she'd never responded to it. But then her perfect bride mask slipped back into place. "Well, good," she said, turning back to her reflection. "Everything needs to be perfect today. Matthew's entire family is here, and they're already." "Already what?" She sighed, adjusting her veil. Let's just say they have certain expectations. This wedding needs to go exactly as planned. I thought about the manila envelope in my car, about the text messages I'd scheduled to send at precise intervals throughout the day. Don't worry, Victoria. Everything will go exactly as it should. The ceremony was scheduled for 4 p.m. at 2:30. While Victoria was having final photos taken with our parents, I sent the first text to Matthew. Just 3 words. I know about Sufi. I watched from across the garden as he read it, his face paling slightly before he quickly composed himself. He glanced around, trying to spot the sender, but I was already walking away. At 3:15 during the pre-ceremony cocktail hour, I had Daniel deliver an envelope to Matthew's room. Inside were photos, not all of them, just enough to let him know we had proof. Problems? I asked innocently, finding Victoria alone for a moment in the bridal suite. She was pacing, her perfect dress swishing across the floor. Matthew's acting strange, she said, biting her perfectly painted lip. He keeps checking his phone and disappearing. You haven't said anything to him, have you? I adjusted a flower in my bouquet. About what? About the money you stole from me or about Sophie? She froze. Rebecca, please don't do this. Not today. I promise I'll pay you back. Like you promised to pay back Mom and Dad for your failed boutique? Or Thomas for the startup money you borrowed last year? I stepped closer. You're not the only one who can uncover secrets, Victoria. Her face hardened. You wouldn't dare ruin this. The Harrison family would destroy you. Maybe. But they'd destroy Matthew first, and you by association. Before she could respond, our mother burst in. Victoria, honey, it's almost time. I left them there, making my way to the ceremony site. Guests were being seated, the string quartet was playing, and Matthew stood at the altar, looking increasingly uncomfortable. At 3:55, 5 minutes before the ceremony was due to start, I sent him the final text, a video this time, short but devastating. His face went from pale to ashen as he watched it. Ladies and gentlemen, the wedding planner's voice rang out. Please take your seats. The ceremony is about to begin. The music swelled, the guests stood, and the doors opened for Victoria's grand entrance. She looked radiant, our father beaming beside her as they started down the aisle. They made it halfway before Matthew stepped down from the altar. I can't, he said, his voice carrying in the sudden silence. I can't do this. Victoria stopped, her smile frozen. Matthew, what are you? I know you know, he said, looking directly at her, about Sophie, about everything. Who told you? He demanded. Was it Thompson? The confusion on Victoria's face was genuine. Matthew, what are you talking about? Who's Sophie? And then, as if on cue, a woman stood up from among the guests. I am. The next few minutes were chaos. Sophie, it turned out, wasn't just Matthew's mistress, she was his wife. Their marriage in Vegas 3 months ago had been very real, very legal, and very much a problem for the Harrison family. Victoria's perfect day imploded spectacularly. There were shouts, tears, accusations. Matthew's father had to be restrained from attacking his son. Guests fled in embarrassment or stayed to gawk at the unfolding drama. Through it all, I stood quietly in my bridesmaid's dress, watching my sister's carefully constructed world crumble. You, she said finally, spotting me through her tears. You did this. No, Victoria. You did this. Every choice you made, every person you stole from, every lie you told, it all led to this moment. She lunged at me then, all pretense of sophistication gone. I'll kill you. You've ruined everything. Our father caught her, holding her back as she screamed and thrashed. Her perfect dress was torn, her makeup streaked with tears. Miss Anderson, Daniel appeared at my elbow. Perhaps now would be a good time to discuss the financial matters. Victoria went still. What financial matters? The theft of my savings, for starters, I said calmly. The unauthorized access to my accounts, the fraudulent transfers. The police are very interested in all of it. You wouldn't, she whispered. Your own sister? You stopped being my sister the moment you decided to steal my future. I turned to Daniel. Show them. He opened his briefcase, pulling out documents, bank records, transfer receipts, screenshots of Victoria accessing my accounts. Our parents' faces fell as they realized the extent of her deception. Oh, Victoria, our mother whispered. What have you done? The aftermath was both swift and severe. The Harrison family, already reeling from Matthew's scandal, wanted nothing to do with any of it. They whisked him away to deal with the Sophie situation privately. Victoria faced criminal charges for theft and fraud. Our parents, finally forced to see her for who she really was, refused to bail her out this time. The wedding vendors, unpaid and angry, began legal proceedings of their own. Was it worth it? I asked her later, visiting her at our parents' house where she'd been forced to move back in. Was one perfect day worth losing everything? She didn't answer, just stared out the window, her perfect world shattered beyond repair. My money was eventually returned, not all at once but through a court-ordered repayment plan that would take Victoria years to fulfill. The wedding vendors claimed everything else, selling off the unused decorations and Victoria's dream dress to recoup their losses. A year later, I sat in my new apartment, paid for with the savings I'd rebuilt. A wedding invitation lay on my coffee table, not Victoria's this time, but mine own. My fiancé, unlike Matthew, was honest, hardworking, and completely real. Victoria wasn't invited. She was still working through her legal issues, still living with our parents, still blaming me for ruining her life. She never understood that she'd done that herself, one selfish choice at a time. My phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. Had started handling my corporate security after the wedding debacle. Thought you'd want to know. Matthew Harrison just got divorced from both wives. I smiled, thinking about karma and consequences. Victoria had wanted the perfect wedding at any cost. Instead, she learned a valuable lesson about the price of perfection. As I began planning my own wedding, modest, meaningful, and paid for honestly, I thought about what real love and family should look like. Not a fairy tale built on lies and theft, but something true and strong and real. Victoria had chosen her path, and now she was living with the consequences. Me, I was finally living my own life on my own terms, with my own honestly earned money, and that was worth more than any perfect wedding day could ever be.